Over the past several months, we've seen TikToks of mommy sorry memes and daddy issues slowly making their way towards mainstream media. Now I think is a better time than ever to talk about parent issues in shonen anime. There are a lot of parents in this genre, from Naruto, Hunter x Hunter to Fullmetal Alchemist. Good and bad parents have dominated much of the genre. Shonen in particular is very interesting, as it shows parents to either be providers for their children or take advantage of them for their personal gain. In The Promised Neverland, Mother Isabel nurtures her so-called children into grooming them to be eaten by demons. Her sense of motherhood isn't out of purely loving the kids she raises, but more for her higher up demons, if you will, to be happy. In Hunter x Hunter, Jing Freaks drops off his kid Gon to Aunt Mito in order for him to go out on his adventure as a hunter. He seemingly doesn't want to be part of Gon's upbringing, but later on we see how his behavior aligns with Buddhist-centric values, which in Western ideology sounds taboo for a father to leave his son behind in order for him to grow as a hunter. Following Hunter x Hunter and the focus on paternity, we see parents primarily being pushed to the forefront of the storyline in the protagonist. Whether it's the focus or the side plot of the show, it nonetheless garners a lot of attention to the conversation and the overall arching themes of shonen anime. Jacob the Overlord notes, "Too many anime disregard the protag's parents completely. I get why this is theoretically. Having your main character work around their parents would be a pain. It would be hard to write the characters in as many situations as you would like, since their parents would often be against their actions." Regardless of the structure of the show, it shows that parents can create complex storylines in anime. The shows Naruto, My Hero Academia, and Fullmetal Alchemist all show parents to be the source of a storyline beyond the protagonist. They also insinuate parentality to be the main issue in achieving their goals, not the parents themselves. In the Wall Street Journal article on Paternal Ambivalent, Peggy Drexler highlights the struggles of parenthood and the massive implications that it has on the children at large. It is widely assumed that parents are very insightful, disciplined, yet compassionate to the children's feelings. However, this mainly prioritizes Western ideologies, as in other countries and other nations can differ from each household and cannot be looked at as either wrong or immoral. Even so, this does undermine how stressful it is to take care of a child, being a provider and constantly sacrificing themselves in order for them to not have much individual gain is quite harmful. Even though parents are elders and models of behavior, they also are humans. Humanity in a lot of these shows is displayed in the parents. People don't really understand that parents can make mistakes. Peggy Drexler argues, "Parental ambivalence is completely normal and only becomes a problem when it's left unexpressed. Parents who often feel ambivalent don't express it. They feel a built-up pressure that has to express itself somewhere, but a parent's identity comes at the cost of raising their children." By tracing these thoughts as something that is unnatural, it suggests that parents in general are reflected and reinforced normative attitudes of parenthood in Western society. I say this loosely, but it just shows the sheer power and knowledge that this topic garners, which, without further ado, let's talk about parent issues in anime.
Happy birthday, Naruto.
Naruto was a long shonen anime series written by Masashi Kishimoto and directed by Hayate Date. Based on the first series, it follows 12-year-old Naruto Uzumaki down his path of becoming a ninja in hopes of becoming Hokage someday. He faces lots of adversity through his identity and navigating his toxic friendship with Sasuke, but through the loss of his parents, we see Naruto's character start to unfold. He seemingly acts like his parents aren't a forgotten memory since they died right after his birth. But we see, however, that it has taken a significant toll on him as he feels isolated and unreliable to his other classmates and fellow shinobi. Naruto's parents, Kushina and Minato, pervade throughout the Shippuden series. We get a glimpse of them throughout Naruto's battle with Pain and attaining partial control over the Nine Tails. Minato talks with Naruto about the events prior to his death, revealing Obito Uchiha was the culprit behind their death. We see Minato emotionally connected to Naruto, but keeps his composure with the trope of fathers be robust and strong. Kushina appears as Naruto is gaining control over the Nine Tails, where she tells him the events of his birth and just how much she truly loves him, and the man that he has grown up to be. Kushina's heart explodes with joy and happiness to see her son, as she was able to see his face as he's all grown up, but she also retains her role as a mother and tells Naruto to not make assumptions about her. It also is expanding upon Naruto's birthday, as throughout the 4th Great Ninja War, there is a segment when they were fighting Obito that Minato talks about Naruto's birthday and the significance of that development. We finally get to see Minato shed his emotions, as he was revered as the best Hokage and the best ninja in the Hidden Leaf Village after the 3rd Hokage. And it was really nice to see that Minato, at heart, is just a very kind man that wants the best for his son and his family, as well as the Leaf Village. Sasuke's relationship, however, takes a significant shift.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
His parents are often neglectful in Sasuke's interests, other than turning him to be like his brother Itachi. Sasuke's happy-go-lucky attitude symbolizes naivete and optimism, which is something his parents want him to avoid. Before the clan's murder, we see Sasuke's normal conversation with his parents focused on Itachi. The idea of maternal and paternal ambivalence resides in their judgments. Often Sasuke's dad Fugaku would focus on Itachi and his efforts as the sole successor of the Uchiha clan, and is often pushy towards him. This leads to Itachi having conflicting issues about his family and his clan, directly leading into Itachi's assassinating his clan for the Leaf Village's benefit. As the Uchiha clan started to stage a coup d'etat, the Uchiha clan primarily focused on power in order to keep their clan stable, which is briefly shown with Madara and Obito's familial relationship. Sasuke's parents didn't necessarily peer into his desires for life since their focus was on Itachi. With this, we can see how Sasuke not having a family affects his perceptions of a paternal figure. In Shippuden, Obito befriends Sasuke in partnering up their desires of destroying the Leaf Village. He takes the age and power dynamic he has over Sasuke, which leans into him wanting to get attention from Obito. In the conversation about the truth behind Itachi, we see Obito show clear signs of grooming. He takes advantage of Sasuke's fraught mental state in the aftermath of Itachi's death and gives him knowledge like his father would. However, this is nothing but an illusion, as Obito does this for his own benefit. This later transcribes into how Sasuke treats Sarada in the Boruto series, by neglecting to come to her and leave Sakura helpless to nurture her child. Obviously, the Naruto franchise is something that even if you're not in the anime community, you probably would have heard of before, so it's too vast to explain all the familial relationships. It did, however, shed light on children in scenarios of smothering and also the purest form of family. Boku no Hero Academia, aka My Hero Academia, is an ongoing shonen action series from 2016 that explores the endeavors of becoming a hero. Izuku Midoriya and his mother Inku show the love and concern of a parental relationship. Maternity is prevalent in Inku's behavior. We first see her worried about Izuku's mental state, since he is among the 20% of the population that is quirkless. Inku immediately embraces a crying Izuku in order for him to feel comfort in knowing that it is okay to feel pain. Inku, however, was portrayed as a mother that didn't believe in her child, but her gratitude for when Izuku got accepted to UA trumps her initial reaction to his quirkless test results. We see her development deepen when UA decides to move their students to dorms because of the heavy assaults by the League of Villains. Inku steps in and tells All Might that Izuku won't be moving in. Izuku is obviously upset, however, it showcases how resilient Inku was for him to be at school. Maternal instincts in when a threat is presiding over their child, with the threat being UA, safety of their students. This layer of protection links to something primal or animalistic, like the fierce mama bear. With the absence of Izuku's father, Inku feels obligated to ensure his growth, meaning that if UA wasn't going to provide a safety net for their students to learn and grow, then it was her priority as a mother to remove Izuku from that environment, even at the cost of her relationship with Izuku. Izuku. All Might dives into the absentee father spot left by Hirashi. His caring yet strong-willed persona pervades the masculine support Izuku wanted. Bakugo sees this and his jealousy arouses inside him, as All Might was his hero. After a while, Izuku and All Might's relationship is exposed by Bakugo and agrees to keep quiet if he's in the loop about their plans and their relationship. As a result, All Might and Izuku's relationship dwindles slightly as their confidentiality is gone, symbolizing their emotional distance when someone interjects a familial relationship. We often see this in friends being invited over and having to put a front around them and not openly exposing their feelings because another person is present, usually a person that is unknown or someone that they don't consider someone intimate. Even though family is a minor part of My Hero Academia, it illustrates the necessity of passionate and protective parents, which is essential in children's development. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is classified as the golden crop of shounen anime, written by Hiroshi Onigi and directed by Yasuhiro Ire. Edward and Alphonse Elric perform human transmutation in order to resurrect their mother Trisha, which causes Ed's left arm and left leg and Al's entire body to be placed in a shield of armor. The show critiqued paternal ambivalence. When a father does not want to raise their children, it is viewed as taboo. Both Van Hohenheim and the father of the homunculus showed the disparities in family dynamics. Hohenheim left Ed and Al and his mom to pursue his own ventures. With the challenges presented, he felt as though he couldn't provide for his son and his wife. His absence led his wife Trisha to hide about her illness, causing her death unexpectedly, and Ed and Al having to fend for themselves. Even after their father's disappearance, he doesn't do this out of anger, rather a measure for him to find his identity. His parental descent falls into the harsh upbringing with lessons brought up by the dwarf in the flask. A byproduct of growing up as a slave in Xerxes, he had little to no ambition before the dwarf in the flask entered the picture. The dwarf gave him a name that transcribes his identity and furthered his passion to explore life and family. Even throughout Hohenheim and Trisha's relationship, it never lost sight of the humanity that family brings. The touchy, dark subject matter behind paternal ambivalence makes Hohenheim's actions with meeting his sons even clearer. He finds it difficult to connect with his children, specifically Ed, after the events that happened with their mother. Hohenheim understands Ed's feelings, but throughout the series did not know how to reciprocate that same emotion. That isn't to say that he didn't love Trisha or his children, but more of his past trauma causing him to not to be able to give them time and energy in what he values most: his humanity. The father of the homunculus, aka the dwarf in the flask, polarizes that of Hohenheim, as he loves his children and protects them at all costs. While his actions are malicious and garner little support from his opponents, his mantra of equality resides in himself. He treats all of his children, which are the 7 deadly sins, as a part of him internally. At multiple points, he absorbs his children and transcribes their powers for his own. His paternity isn't necessarily out of anger, but taken into his unique biology. Homunculi were popularized in the 16th and 19th century that are classified as humans or miniature. In Fullmetal Alchemist, it is taken from the Latin word little human, Japanese for artificial human. This fits as the 7 deadly sins are a small part of Father, with him being the puppet master. His appearance as Van Hohenheim was taken by Hohenheim giving Father some of his blood. Father embodied each of the elements of sin, with his greed in absorbing all the souls in a mistress, as well as dismissing the importance of family in his conversation with Hohenheim. His problematic ideals of becoming God insinuate he wants everything to be close to him, similarly to the ideologies of hegemonic masculinity, where men want to place dominance onto people, usually in negative contexts. Father's goals unfortunately did not come to fruition. As TV trope states, in the end, Father, no more than a sentiment bit of truth and knowledge himself, is dragged back into the gate, sobbing and pleading with the truth to tell him what he cannot understand and cannot know. With that in mind, we can see that although he did not want to engage in paternal ambivalence, he ultimately did, which undermines the meaning of familial, something that is always about protection and keeping keeping people safe. Even though those ideologies weren't transcribed into the father's personality, it contrasts that of Hohenheim because he is not human. Since homunculi are artificially made humans, some of his personality or even his paternity could be artificial as well, signifying that humanity isn't a part of his upbringing and is not a part of how he parents his children, which ultimately suggests that his parenting might not have been immoral at all. In 2012, The Atlantic conducted an article on daddy issues and the importance of intimacy in parental relationships. It opens up the greatest possibilities for true intimacy and reconnection at the deepest level. The sharing of strengths and vulnerabilities without shame fosters love, and for some caregivers, this role offers a chance in second adulthood to compose a more tender sequel, the troubled family drama of our first adulthood. We can become better than our younger selves. Once you become a parent, there's little time to be anything else. And the stigma of people not being a parent just raises the stakes of how adults always have to be thinking of children and having a family of their own. At the end of the day, it's not Mommy Dearest. It's Parental Dearest.